In Chicago and nationwide, blacks and Latinos represent not only the nation's two largest minority groups, but also the two most impoverished, the two most underemployed, the two most incarcerated, the two most politically underrepresented, regardless of what's happening in the White House, the two most police brutalized, the two most undereducated, and the two most environmentally sickened populations in the United States. They also share space in working class neighborhoods, jobs, schools, and religious institutions in most large US cities. Despite a compelling logic for coalition, most of the scholarly and media coverage of Black-Latino relations suggests otherwise to us. Most of the scholarly and media coverage of Black-Latino relations suggests otherwise to us. Latinos are described as harboring profound anti-Black prejudices, some that they import from Latin America, and some that they appropriate in their desires to assimilate into white America. By comparison, blacks are commonly described as an already suffering community whose suffering is being exacerbated by a foreign invasion from Latin America. Latino growth is popularly perceived as something that might derail the Black civil rights movement just when it seems to be gaining a new surge of steam. Blacks are also described as growing increasingly xenophobic and concerned about the growing presence of third world peoples in their communities who rob them of jobs and lessen their quality of life through foreign tongues and exotic flus. Blacks are not alone in this regard, as many Latinos share the same sentiments, as so do many whites. Within the literature on Black-Latino conflict, Latinos are described as illegal aliens who flee rampant corruption, poverty, and despair in Latin America to steal job opportunities from working-class blacks. Scholars have gone so far as to claim that Latino gangs are engaging in the practice of ethnic cleansing, and I take that quote directly from a report, as they aim to eradicate blacks from working-class neighborhoods so as to set up illegal drug and arms trades in our cities. Others claim that the Latino population boom is to blame for a skyrocketing black prison population in the US, as lessened job opportunities have led blacks to sell crack as a way to make ends meet. And lastly, there have been a wave of reports of how Latinos will refuse to support black political candidates due to their inherent anti-black racism and vice versa with regards to black support for Latino candidates. The presidential election of 2008 proved otherwise. That wasn't true. Latinos also supported Jesse Jackson in 1988, despite the fact that it was then that many would predict that wouldn't happen either. The fact that Latinos are blamed for a skyrocketing black inmate population seems ridiculous when one considers how the Latino prison population is skyrocketing for the same reasons, and at the current pace will outnumber blacks. Most economic analyses demonstrate that immigration has had very little, if any, negative effect on black unemployment rates. In fact, the one factor that continues to undermine black employment is the deeply sedimented nature of anti-black stereotypes and stigmas in the American political imaginary and across all racial and ethnic lines. The hysteria surrounding Black-Latino gang conflicts seems to be the biggest mythology of them all. As we know quite well here in Chicago, gun violence is a tremendous tragedy in our inner-city neighborhoods. But that gun violence almost exclusively involves black-on-black and Latino-on-Latino murder. There's only rare occasion that it doesn't fit that criterion. Lastly, much of the literature suggests that the Latino boom is almost exclusively caused by immigration, when in fact, a vibrant Latino birth rate has been its major cause. Most Latinos are not immigrants. And as the work of historians such as Ramon Gutierrez has demonstrated, Latino history surely did not begin in the 20th century. Instead, Latino roots in the US precede the US itself. And they became part of the US via acts of conquest and what is captured with the activist slogan of the 1960s, "We didn't cross the border crossed us."
A small town once lived here, in the wide open spaces of opportunity.
That the black man should control the politics of his own community and control the politicians who are in his own community. My personal economic philosophy is also black.